mudanayaal iyo marweyn ku soo dhawaada Muqdisho Times waxa maanta stuudiyaha nagu soo booqday madaxa xisbiga Dimoqradiga ee gobolka Minnesota Ken Martin iyo Ilhan Omar oo xisbiga Dimoqradiga oo ah gudoomiye ku xigeenka degmada 6aad ee Minneapolis. Wareysigii aan la yeelanayna wuxuu u dhacay sida tan ee daawasho wacan. Welcome to Ken Martin, Chair of the Minnesota DFL. Welcome to Muqdisho Times, and Ilhan Omar. The first question I want to ask you is the turnout of the Somali American have been very high. As a DFL and a party leader, what does that tell you?
Well, it tells me a lot. It signifies that the values that Somali Americans and frankly other East African communities here in Minnesota are shared with the DFL party, and the fact that so many have become energized and organized to work within the party is a great thing. Our party, the DFL party, was formed in 1944. It was a merger, and we have a very unique party history here, and we are a big tent. We welcome people from all walks of life, from all backgrounds, with many different perspectives and beliefs, and that's what makes our party great and strong, is we're a big tent party. And so we really value the participation of Somali Americans and other communities.
Okay. aniga waxay ila tahay in wax fiican ay tahay in aan ka qayb qaadano DFL party dad badan jiro oo qayb weyn ka qaato kuwa directors jiro sida Nimco Ahmed oo kale Jamal Abdullahi aniga vice chair sana district geena nahay aad ay muhiim u tahay in aan fabrica sida dhaxgalkii DFL ka aan ka mid noqono muhiim waaye oo aanan kaliya aanan ahayn dadku u codeeyo laakiin siyaasad ahaanna ka qayb qaata sidii wax ay u dhacayaan sharci ahaanna soo gudbinayo ama form gareynayo in aan ka qayb qaato.
Thank you very much. Can you tell us what happened at the DFL caucus at the Bryan Call Center?
Well, unfortunately, I think a small group of people, and let me back up for a second. For many years, for the last 15, 20 years or so, people like Nimco Ahmed and others have been organizing to get Somali Americans and other East Africans involved in our party. And for so many years, people have participated in a very peaceful and constructive way. And now with just a small group of people, troublemakers, frankly, bad apples, cause a lot of problems at the precinct caucus on February 4th. It's important for me that our party be free of intimidation and threats and coercion and, frankly, of physical violence. No one should have to fear for their safety when they participate in democracy. You can have a heated exchange of ideas, you can disagree, but what's great about democracy is that you can disagree peacefully without fear of retaliation. No one's voice should be silenced in this process, and unfortunately what I believe happened is that a small group of people were trying to silence people's voices that evening. And once the event was shut down, there were people calling on me to not reconvene. And I felt very strongly, and still do, that we can't do that to all of those people who were there to exercise their rights and to exercise their voice, to make their voices heard in this process. And if we do that, we're really turning our backs not only on the Somali community, but all communities throughout the state. And so it was a really tragic event that happened, and we're very discouraged by it. And I thought Ilhan's piece in the Star Tribune the other day really summarized, unfortunately, some of the larger issues that are going on as well. So.
Is there any investigation about the issue, and if it's so, could you please share with us?
We called upon the police a couple of days after the caucuses to investigate this matter. The DFL party did, And we also wanted to make sure that the DFL party is also doing an investigation. We put forward a protocol, a rule for this caucus, and one that we'll probably have in place for some time, to make sure that people know that if they participate in this kind of behavior again, that they're going to be banned from from participating in the DFL party. Again, you can have a difference of opinion. It's okay. The DFL party is not telling people what to believe or who to support. That's up to local people to make those decisions. But it's very important to me that people don't have to fear for their safety when they participate in our party functions.
Can I elaborate a little bit on that? So there is an investigation. The Minneapolis Police Department is investigating, and there's an investigator assigned to the case. We're also, I think, going to, correct me if I'm wrong, after this caucus is over and the convention is over, at some point the party will convene its leaders to look at what happened and how do we, going forward, prevent this from happening. On Wednesday, on the 19th, when the 6-3 caucus reconvenes, we're going to make sure that this does not happen again and that people are free to exercise their right to caucus.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. There are some widespread rumors about the reason that you changed the venue is to give Phyllis Khan an advantage. What can you say about that?
Well, it's just not true. Again, it's up to the local people to decide who they're going to support in this race. What I said to my staff is that we need to be over-prepared. We expect twice as many people now to show up on caucus night than showed up the last time. And the gym only holds 350 people, and we spoke to the folks at Brian Coyle and they said that we can't have more than 350 people there. And so I basically said we need to find a facility as close as possible to Brian Coyle that would accommodate upwards of 700 people. We want to make sure that people, I think there were a few problems on caucus night, let me just say that. There were long lines at registration. There weren't enough seats for the elders and others who came out to participate, and so people had to stand up. And then the sound system there was not adequate either. And so a number of those issues helped lead to some of the tension in the room to begin with. And so what I said is we need to make sure we remove all of those obstacles. And I wanted to have it at Brian Coyle, but because of the fire code, we weren't allowed to do that. And so what the DFL said is that we'll actually provide transportation to and from the Brian Coyle Center to make sure that anyone who wants to participate can do so and not have to worry about how they get there.
And I think the other thing that's very important that we tell people is that the decision to relocate, not only did it come from the party leaders, but the two campaigns agreed to it. So Mahmoud Noor's campaign and Phyllis Khan's campaign were at the table, saying that that would be an amicable decision to make.
Right.
But the question I have is, why didn't the party organize the last caucus the same way that you're organizing this one right now?
Well, that's a fair question, and I'll tell you, we have 4,000 precincts in the state, and this is just one of those 4,000. So the state party's responsibility is to make sure that all 4,000 of those are organized and that we make sure we're providing resources to the local Senate district officers like Ilhan and Greg Oliver, who's the chair of Senate District 60, so that they can put together the precinct caucuses. We really entrust a lot of those decisions to the local leaders. And I will say that, by and large, they did a great job preparing for these caucuses. And in spite of some of the logistical issues, that wasn't the reason that we had the difficulties we did on caucus night. Again, there were a few small bad actors, who I think were, regardless of where we had it, who were looking to cause some trouble. And so, but that said, I think it does beg the question moving forward, particularly in areas where we have sizable new immigrant communities and you have language barriers or potentially accessibility issues, that the state party be more involved with those areas where we know we might have some of those issues down the road. So I'm not trying to deflect responsibility. It is a responsibility of the state party, but it's not solely the responsibility of the state party. It's also a responsibility of local officers as well.
And I would like to add something as a site coordinator for that night. I think there's some things that you just don't expect. We tried to get Minneapolis police there. The Minneapolis Park Board agreed to get us private security. We try to arrange the best way we can for registration. We try to speak with the conveners beforehand to try to prepare them for everything. So what wasn't expected was that there were going to be few people that would attend that night that were specifically interested in creating a disturbance. That wasn't something that you would plan for, because from the history that we've had in planning for caucuses, that has not happened. You don't have people who solely attend to cause havoc or disturbance.
What do you want to say to the people who are a little bit afraid that came to the last caucus and is right now thinking about if they go to the next one, that same problem is going to occur again? What do you want to say to those people?
It's really important that people show up. My commitment as the chair of this party is to make sure that they can exercise their right and their responsibility and their voice in this process, free of intimidation, free of threats, free of any fear of physical violence, and I'm taking every precaution to make sure that that happens. But also, as Paul Wellstone used to say, and others have said before, the future belongs to those who show up. It's more important now than ever to make your voice heard in this process and to not succumb to the threats and the intimidation. That's what people want. That's what the end goal here is, to make people fear participating in this process, and we can't give in to that. Now, if people are interested in attending the caucus, they should show up to Brian Coyle Center on Wednesday, February 19th at 5 p.m. The buses will start. We'll have buses going back and forth all evening long to take people back to the Brian Coyle Center and over to the Kaufman Union. But I just implore people, I ask people to continue to stay involved in this process. It's important for a number of reasons, but more importantly now than ever, to make sure that those voices are not silenced.
dadka cabsida ay ku jirto oo isleh faaraha waxa loo bedelay ama loo meel kaleeta looga dhigay meeshaanaytii dad kaleeta inay ka faa'iideystaan. haddii aadan soo bixin, aadan ka qayb qaadanin, dadkaasiiti way faa'iideysteen. waa in la xasuusnaadaa hadda kaliya aad jaaniska haysataa. haddii aadan soo bixin oo codkaaga aan la maqlin, jaanis kaleeta ma helaysid. marka dadka waxaan u baahanahay in ay guryahooda ka soo wada baxaan, Brian Coyle ay imaadaan, basaska waxay bilaabanayaan 5 o'clock galabtii markay tahay. waa la kaxeynayaa, yuudaa la geynayaa, dadaa joogaayo oo direction siinayo. markii ay meesha tagaan, registration bilaabanaya. dad kaleete oo meelo kale ka imaaday registration ka suubinayo. waxa safe u noqonaya, police joogaayo, Minneapolis police joogaayo, campus police joogaayo. markii oo ay dhamaato caucuskana guryahooda waa loo soo celinaya. Brian Coyle basas kaleeta imaanayo oo soo celiyo. waxaan kaloo rabaa dadka inaan xasuusiyo maalintaasiiti markay imaadaan 3 shaqo kaliya loo imaanaya. shaqada koowaad waa in la doorto dadkii ergooyinka u noqon lahaa ama Maxamuud Nuur ama Filisqaan. waxaa kaleeto la dooranayaa dadkii oo u noqon lahaa ergooyinka Minneapolis School Board. waxaa kaloo la dooranayaa dadkii ergooyin u noqon lahaa Hennepin County raiskiisa. ma jirayso afaara kaleete oo wax kale loo dooran doono. waxyaalaha kaleeto oo badanaa markii la isku imaado caucuska la doorto gadaala loo dhigay in maalin kaleeta laga dhigi doonaa. kaasna dadku waa la soo socodsiin doonaa. marka waxaan rabnaa dadka in intaasiit ay xasuustaan. 3 arin kaliya u imaanaysa. arinta koowaad waa ama Maxamuud ama Filis ina erga u noqotid. waa inaa Minneapolis School Board ergooyin u noqotiin ama Hennepin County haddii aad rabtiin inaad ergooyin u noqotiin kan kaleeta aan raba dadka inaan xasuusiyana waxa waaye waxaa la bedelay dadkii maamuli lahaa maalintaasaytii 4 qof waxay noqonayaan maamulka koo waa Ken Martin oo Minneapolis Minnesota DFL chairka RT Ryback oo former Minneapolis mayor Marvin Carter oo St. Paul City Council kamid ahaan jiray iyo Alberta Gillespie oo iyadana meel kale DFL ka maamulka ka hayso afartaas qof maamulka maalintaas ay tahaynayo turjubaana la keenaya oo dadka u turjubaano marka waxyaalo badan jiro oo taxadar la suubiyay dadka inay cabsoodaan ma aha inuu walwal ku jira ma aha waa inay soo diyaariyaan xataa arimaha maalinta siday u dhacayaan turjubaan waraaqa loogu soo turjubaanaya oo albaabka markay ka soo galaan loo dhiibaayo.
Thank you, Ilhan. And Martin, how did you convince RT Ryback to oversee this?
Well, RT cares deeply about Minneapolis. He cares deeply about the state. And when he heard about this, he called me up and asked what he could do to be helpful. And so I didn't have to convince him very much. He wanted to be involved because he cares deeply about making sure that people have their voices heard. And he also knows that, as I do, for so many years, Somali Americans have been so integrally involved in our political process here. And we want that to continue. Regardless of political affiliation, whether you're Republican, a Democrat, an independent, we want Somali Americans to continue to be involved in our political process. So it's very important to RT, it's very important to me, and I'm glad he reached out.
Thank you again and good luck on Wednesday.
Thank you so much.
Thank
really
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ilhan.